Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the vlog, welcome back to the car, welcome back to Cornwall, welcome back to... It's the middle of summer, it's overcast, it's raining, the hottest day of the year is... today? Question mark? Yeah, it's supposed to be about 35 degrees Celsius. And I guess it is in some parts of the UK, but here in Cornwall we have rain, which we've been having mostly since October. Which is fun, but it's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was Jurassic Park, specifically the films and specifically why there's only one good Jurassic Park, and that was filmed in 1993. It had Sam Neill, it had Jeff Goldblum, it had Laura Dern, and it had Richard Attenborough. Yeah, Richard Attenborough, brother of David Attenborough. They are related, if you did not know. I mean, the clue is in the family name. Who played John Hammond. So you have John Hammond and Dennis Nedry on an island, and they've created dinosaurs. But why did you mention Dennis Nedry? Isn't he the bad guy? Well, not really. The film kind of assassinates Nedry's character, although Nedry was instrumental in getting the dinosaurs alive, created in the first place. Yeah, it turns out that John Hammond is not a great guy, especially if you've read the book, and especially if you've played Jurassic Park Trespasser. The film came out in 1993, so Jurassic Park came out in 1993, and it was amazing. For a time when most people at home had VHS players, and VHS players played videos back in 240 interlaced, that's 240i, you could go to the cinema and you could see a film being projected 35 millimeters through an optical print, and you had so much resolution, so much clarity, and it was scary because those dinosaurs are big on screen. And that was the first time we'd really seen dinosaurs being animated in that kind of detail on screen. Yeah, sure, they weren't quite how dinosaurs are, or at least how we have come to understand how they should be. The velociraptors, for example, the velociraptors in real life are about the same size as a golden retriever. But in the film, they're what, 6, 7 foot tall? That's kind of crazy, but it's also kind of explained away by the fact that they were using frog DNA to fill in all the bits that they couldn't get from mosquitoes who had drunk dinosaur blood and then got trapped in tree resin. But wait, there's more? Yeah, so the original film starts off on a paleontology dig. Sam Neill and Laura Dern are paleontologists, and they're digging up bones in the desert. Ooh, bones! And basically what they're doing is there's a bunch of people there, and Sam Neill's gone up to this kid and is saying, ooh, Christ, this is Cornwall during the summer. I have seen some extraordinarily bad driving today, and that's not even the worst example. Anyway, yeah, they're doing some paleontology. Sam Neill goes to a kid and he's got a velociraptor claw, and he explains how velociraptors ate people. And basically, they would slice you from navel to neck and then eat you while you're still alive but paralyzed, because that's a delicious way of eating a person. Except people weren't around in the time of dinosaurs. This was millions and millions of years ago, and with the dinosaurs they actually create for the island, not necessarily all of them are from the Jurassic period. In fact, very few of them are from the Jurassic period, but Jurassic Park is easier to say than Cretaceous Park. Okay. They're having this conversation, and then John Hammond turns up and says, "Hey, I need you to come to my island. Come to my island because I have a surprise for you two. I'll pay you some money, and I'm just building a theme park." I can't remember if he buries the lead on the fact that there's going to be living dinosaurs, but there are living dinosaurs on the island. Sam Neill doesn't like kids. His character is not big into kids, but through the story, John Hammond's grandkids are there, and they're put in danger, and he has to look after them for a bit, and I think he comes around on being a dad towards the end of the film. It's a film essentially in two parts. There's the island, the wonder of the fact that these guys have managed to bring back dinosaurs. They've managed to use genetic manipulation to create dinosaurs. And there are babies, and don't worry, they're all female. Don't worry. But Jeff Goldblum, he knows that life will find a way. Life finds a way. And because they use frog DNA, some of the creatures, some of the animals, some of the dinosaurs are switching genders based on like the need of the many. And some of them are becoming male, and they're having little babies out in the wilderness. But there are electric fences keeping the most violent dinosaurs all together, all in compounds. And the first dinosaurs, canonically within the story that they created, were the velociraptors. It's like, well, why would you do that? Well, why would you not? You need the hunters, you need the predators as well as the prey. It's you're creating a living ecosystem. But throughout the film, something happens. Dennis Nedry is the name that everyone will know. Dennis Nedry, the computer guy. And there is a storm. A storm comes in into the island, much like today. Everything gets a bit wet, and Dennis Nedry he has a conversation with someone about stealing embryos. He's going to steal some embryos, and to make money. Money. Why would he do that? You don't actually get to know during the film why he would do that. He infects the computer system. He creates I don't even think he needs to create a virus. He just creates a program that runs, and it turns off all the electrified fences across the park and releases the dinosaurs in order to cover his escape. So he's trying to get to the boat, trying to get to the dock before it leaves, but there is a storm and it blows in, and it's making it very difficult for him to leave. Spoilers, he doesn't. I think the book, the death that he gets is way more horrific than the film death that he gets. But yeah, once the dinosaurs are out, once the dinosaurs are doing the dinosaur thing, the humans are way out of their depth. Where is this guy going? He's all over the road. This is normal weather for Cornwall. This person is going to get himself killed, or themselves killed. We are avoiding the worst of the puddles, I guess, but still no excuse for driving like that, my dude. Anyway, speaking of bad driving, yeah, so Nedry skids off the road, gets chomped down, gets poisoned and then chomped down like an old Twix. And then everyone else has to avoid the dinosaurs. And you get some cracking lines like, "Clever girl," as Muldoon with his spaz shotgun gets chomped down by velociraptors. It goes from the wonder and marvel of they've managed to create dinosaurs to should they have created dinosaurs, and now this is essentially a horror story. This has gone from adventure to horror real quick. The savior of the day is the Tyrannosaurus Rex, saving the kids and everyone from the velociraptors. But then there are sequels. The first film is great. It is just an encapsulated film. But there are sequels. 1993 was an interesting time. In fact, the 80s were an interesting time. The time of the sequel, the time of the VHS release, which is why I mentioned it. Because studios, when they released a sequel, they always wanted to go bigger and harder. You always had to have more explosions. In Star Wars, you had the Death Star in Episode 4. Why don't we go with the Death Star 2 in Episode 6? All right, which is bigger. All right. And then The Force Awakens, the TFA. Let's go with Starkiller Base, which is a Death Star, but it's a planet this time. It's like, guys, why are you just doing the same story but going bigger? And that's kind of what they did with Jurassic Park. Instead of telling the rest of the story, which is super interesting, Jurassic Park has a very detailed, very interesting story. They decided to blow it all off. In the second film, there are hunters. The hunters go to the island and they shoot the dinosaurs with machine guns. And it's like, why are they doing that? In the UK, we don't really do hunting. We're not hunting people. We don't go into the woods and shoot Bambi's mum. It's just not something that happens here. So to see a bunch of American tourists with Ma Deuce going after dinosaurs, you kind of side with the dinosaurs, straight up. And it's like, well, is that something that InGen would do? International Genetics, the people who created the dinosaurs, is that something they would be on board with? I don't think they would. And there's a whole thing about gymnasts and uneven bars and the velociraptor getting kicked in the face, which is supremely forced and kind of boring. 2 T-Rexes, because they had one in the first film, and then one of the T-Rexes gets taken back to the mainland America, where it wanders around for a bit and eats someone's dog. Woo! The third film was ultimately forgettable. There's a crash on an island, somebody ends up there, there's a kid, parents are getting divorced, but they end up hiring a team of people to rescue their kid, and they just wander around for a bit, somebody steals an egg, and then everyone gets hunted. It's kind of boring. It's kind of boring. And then there was not many films for a while. Not many films until Jurassic World with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt. Chad Everyman and Bryce Dallas Howard. But yeah, the new films, kind of soulless. The first thing they do is up the ante. The park is open. Why? The whole thing about Jurassic Park is it's a forlorn story. It's a tale. Why are you indicating, my dude? It's a tale of loss. It's a tale that the park isn't open. The dinosaurs already won because nature has taken over already. Everything has returned to what it could have been, to what it had been. Humans meddling with things they don't understand. That's the whole story of Jurassic Park. And losing. The park is open. All right, they've got a T-Rex. All right, they got velociraptors who are being trained. My dude, we can't even train cats. We invite them into our homes, the tiny little predators. They sleep on our beds. But we can't train a cat. How can we train a velociraptor? It doesn't make any sense. What is going on? And by the way, since we're talking about it, the park, it's kind of like, it doesn't make any sense. It's almost as if they made the park and it doesn't have any grounding. Like, you don't look at a part of the park and think, yeah, actually I know where I am. There's the big watery bit. There's the bit that sells toys, I guess. There's the bit with Bryce Dallas Howard and the Indomitable Rex. But they all seem to be disconnected. They all seem to be sound stages rather than a fully functioning park. At least in the original Jurassic Park, you kind of knew where you were. There was the main visitor center. There was the electric track that went around the dinosaur pens. There was the T-Rex paddock that kept changing in height. You know, you knew where you were in the original film, but the new film, you never do. There are parks and paddocks and areas, and it just seems to be not connected. And by the way, the Indomitable Rex, that's not a dinosaur. That is something they created from DNA just because they could, because they thought the T-Rex wouldn't be good enough to draw crowds in. We need to go bigger. We need to be more intelligent and have a creature that can absolutely mask its heat signature? What, my dudes, were you thinking? It doesn't make any sense. And then they go full Fast and the Furious with the franchise because they've already gone big and bold. What they need to do afterwards is to go even bigger and even bolder, and the dinosaurs are now in the normal world living with humans on the mainland. Wait, what? The zombies got 3? What is this, 28 days later? This doesn't make any sense. This takes the monster and takes it out of the dark. In horror, the monster is only scary when you don't see it. In Jaws, the monster was scary because you didn't see it for half the film. In Alien, you don't really see the alien until the very end. It's like, you see glimpses of it. Same thing with the shark. The giant rubber shark from Jaws isn't scary, but the music is. But wait, they just show the dinosaurs in the films? Yeah, so Chris Pratt's on a motorbike and the dinosaurs are all like just out in the open, out in the daytime, out in the places where other people are, and it's just like, this sucks. This kind of sucks because you've taken the monster and you've taken it out of the scary environment and you've put it into, oh, it's 30. You've put it into, you've put it into an environment that just isn't that scary. How could you make Jurassic Park scary again? How could you go back to the beginning and make a sequel, make a film that is actually terrifying, that makes people afraid? Well, it's already been done. Wait, what? Is there something I'm missing? Is there a film that I haven't seen yet? No. Yes, but also no. There was a piece of work made by DreamWorks Entertainment, and it was voiced by Richard Attenborough and Minnie Driver. It was Jurassic Park Trespasser, the video game with the wobbly pink blonde arm.
My name is John Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928. What follows is a record of certain events in which I took part between the years 1980 and 1997 on an island I will call Site B. Site B was not to be a theme park, but a research station. This was where we did the real work.
It was weird and frankly kind of broken. The wobbly pink blancmange arm was an interesting control feature. The fact that there was no HUD was also another interesting choice. Minnie Driver, when you picked up a weapon, would go, oh, it's about half full or kind of empty. It was interesting. It was just about playable. And at the time when it came out in 1998, 1 month before Half-Life, it was almost impossible for most people to play it because most people's computers just weren't powerful enough to render these outdoor environments. It was crazy. But playing it recently, playing it for the channel, reminded me how much I love the game and also love the story, because it goes back not only through the events of Isla Sorna, the research facility, but also goes back through all of the character choices that John Hammond made. He lied, he cheated, he stole.
On October the 3rd, 1989, I sat on a wooden bench in the waiting room in Washington, D.C. A government panel put me on the stand. As my name was read out, the session room went silent. They walked up the aisle towards the stand. I was being called to account, but I had no clear explanation to give. I gave myself over to the strange, lonely discipline of the market, investment strategies and profit. I stood apart, master of codes and lost worlds of heat and cold, and the sleep of 100 million years.
And Dennis Nedry, the guy from the original Jurassic Park film who freed the animals, who stole the embryos, who was essentially the bad guy, was actually instrumental in setting up the computer system. He was instrumental in helping them recover DNA from the animals, to set up all of the cybernetic gear. They set up a Cray computer on the island, and he was there when that happened. It was him and John Hammond which set everything up, which set the events in motion.
As Nedry typed, the world seemed to hold its breath, and for a moment we stood at the turning point between two great planetary eras. The million-year reign of man and the age of the dinosaurs.
But John talks about him through the game, through voiceover. As you play, you get these beautiful voiceover clips recorded by Richard Attenborough, and it's done with so much solemnity, so much gravitas, that you feel the emotion and the sadness and the elation of having this park set up, having the elation at creating dinosaurs, but then the sadness in it all going wrong, all going a bit awry, in everything failing and then returning back to nature. The best way to do this would be, I imagine, to go back to the Attenborough's estate, get permission for, I don't know, maybe AI. And I don't like AI, but maybe use AI to update the voice lines from the game Jurassic Park Trespasser. And then use Jurassic Park Trespasser to come up with a film. You don't have to have Minnie Driver, you can have somebody else in that role, but somebody who can act, somebody who can emote, because there's a lot of new actors these days who haven't been classically trained, who haven't started life on the stage, who can't emote. And have it like a haunted house. Have the horror aspect of them being chased down by dinosaurs, being jump scared by dinosaurs, and being like going through an environment where there's remnants of humanity, there's remnants of things that you recognize, but it's broken, it's cast aside. Nature is taking it over. Find places like the Visitors Centre, or at least a copy of the Visitors Centre, and have them recognizable, but broken. Have the dinosaurs hidden amongst the foliage, and have it be scary. You can't have the park being open. That's impossible. Retcon the whole thing if you have to. Ignore the new films if you have to. Don't do a Fast and the Furious. Fast and the Furious basically keeps going bigger and bigger. It was a film franchise about street racing, and then it turned into a film franchise about bank heists where you steal a safe and then drive around with the safe being towed around behind the car, swinging around like a demolition ball. Or cars that are driving into space. Why are there cars in space? And Vin Diesel talking about family. It's just like, dude, you can't do that. Stop it. Just go smaller. You don't have to go bigger every time. You don't have to keep blowing up the Death Star. You can go smaller. Speaking of smaller, we've got to go around this person because they're doing about 40 on a 70-mile-an-hour road. Dudes, my dudes, this is Cornwall. Just drive normally, it's fine. Anyway, yes, you don't have to go bigger, you can go smaller. And I think that's what you need to do with Jurassic Park. Make it smaller, cut it back, have fewer characters, and stop having, you don't keep having to have kids in there. And those kids don't keep having to have their parents divorcing. Yeah, the two kids in Jurassic World, their parents are getting divorced. The kids in the third Jurassic Park film, the sequel to the original 1993 film, those parents' kids are being divorced. Why are their kids in it? Who knows? Maybe it's to draw in that particular audience. But it is a film where people are getting eaten. I don't know why those kids are there. Why didn't you make it a little bit R-rated? Go a little bit Deadpool with it. Have people being munched down. Or at least finding body parts everywhere. You had in Jaws a leg fall down from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. I mean, Jaws should have been R-rated. Let's be honest, Steven Spielberg got away with something there. Anyway, I think that's as much as we can talk about there. Jurassic Park Trespasser, the best sequel that will never be turned into a film. Jurassic Park Trespasser, the best sequel, the best video game that will never be redone. We'll never see it in Unreal Engine 5, and that is a damn shame because DreamWorks Interactive just doesn't exist anymore. And the license for it must be out there somewhere. Somebody must be able to pick that up and say, you know what? We're going to redo it. We're going to make it bigger and harder and faster, and we're going to give it the coat of paint that it deserves. Because in terms of a first-person, rich environment video game for the Jurassic Park franchise, what do you got? You got something in VR that's cel-shaded that looks like ass. You got Jurassic Park Trespasser, which is frankly broken. I mean, it's a great game, but dude, it is broken. And you've got some story-based games and some arcade-based games. And the arcade-based games are not great, and the story-based game is frankly a little boring. Sorry, it just is. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there for the time being because I'm gonna need to edit the ass out of this, like always. If you like this video, definitely leave a little like. Leave a subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you want notifications, dingle the bingle. If you don't want notifications, don't click the bell. If you have supported the channel using the Ko-fi link, the coffee link down below, be advised that all of that, 100% of that, does go to the creator, which is me. And it does go on electricity because electricity is damn expensive. How expensive? It would be cheaper to run the channel on printer ink than it would be electricity. Is that hyperbole? Yeah, no, printer ink is damn expensive. But I mean, maybe dinosaur embryos are cheaper. I don't know, get Dennis Nedry on the phone. But yeah, running the channel is not a zero-cost game, and for the people who have supported, thank you. It genuinely does help. It's like a genuine help. And you know what? I'll catch you next time. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about was a Unix system. Yeah, when the girl's like, "This is Unix, I know this." It was Unix. It was a 3D Unix system that actually existed in the real world. You could use it. It was a file system, a 3D file system for Unix. And if you've used Apple, you've used Unix. Apple OS is Unix in a pretty dress. And it would have been pertinent at the time, specifically because schools at the time, like in the early 90s, would have just been using any computer system that they could get their hands on. So you might have used Windows, you might have used Apple. There's a deer in the road. All right, well, okay. You might have used Linux, you might have used Apple, you might have used Windows, you might have used Unix, you might have used RISC OS. You might have had Wang computers. You might even have had BBC Basics. There was every chance that she knew Unix from literally from school, because the school would have bought a non-standard system because schools just did that at the time. Also, Samuel L. Jackson's in the film. There's a computer specialist, and he doesn't even call anyone a Oh, and if you are thinking of coming to Cornwall on holiday, bring yourself a coat. Even though it's the middle of summer, you're going to need some wet weather gear. Maybe a coat, maybe a wetsuit.